Sri Vishakhanvitanscha Hare Krishna Karunam Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namoste Taptaham Chana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhushanusude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Guru Govinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all very much for coming and being here this evening. Afternoon, actually. And the sound is feeding back a little bit. There's kind of a little bit of feedback on it. I'm not going to speak in verse. Unless you want me to speak in verse.
No, we were going to put it on the board.
Yeah. No, I thought I'd speak a little bit about the chanting of the holy name of Krishna.
Perfect.
Because that's the main thing that we are here for. The main thing that we do is chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Hare Krishna. It's still feeding back. You can hear that.
Yeah, I think it's on, we got reverb.
Let's adjust it right, and then we can leave it. But you can hear the feedback quite clearly. Hare Krishna testing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's better, but is it loud enough now? It is? Okay, good. The holy name is not different from Krishna, and it bestows all the benefits that one could get from Krishna's personal association. Golokera Prematan Harinam Sankirtan. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says that the holy name of Krishna comes directly from Goloka Vrindavan, and it gives the treasure of Krishna Prema, love from Krishna. The Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that one gets the seed of devotional service by the mercy of Krishna and the spiritual master, and one has to water that seed by chanting of the holy name. This is gardening. You plant the seed, you water the seed, you protect the plant, and it will grow nicely. When actually people ask me how I first came in touch with Hare Krishna movement, the main thing was I heard Prabhupada's record. Now, unfortunately, thanks to modern technology, the original recording that Prabhupada released of the Hare Krishna mantra has been reduced to a continuous loop of about a minute and a half, from which one doesn't get the same sound that one gets from the longer kirtan. It's still transcendental, but that's what it is. It's a continuous loop of
Happening album. That happening album.
yeah, the happening album. The happening album is always a longer kirtan, and now you get the kirtan machine, which gives you a continuous loop, but which is transcendental, but from which we don't get the full impression of how Srila Prabhupada led kirtan. But back in 26 Second Avenue, that was the only recording we had, really. And we used to just play it for a couple of hours, and then turn it over and play the other side for a couple of hours, and then play the first side again. On the one side there was kirtan, on the other side they used some Saradhana prayers and Prabhupada's explanation of the Hare Krishna mantra. Srila Prabhupada explains that, or he taught, that kirtan means transcendental sound vibration chanted for the pleasure of Krishna and the acharyas. It's not a performance for entertainment, or earning a livelihood, or other material purposes, getting fame, or attracting a mate. It's for pleasing Krishna and the acharyas. That's Hare Kirtan. And Prabhupada, I related the story. I guess most of you have seen this book, Srila Prabhupada's Kirtan Standards, which collects Prabhupada's instructions about Kirtan. And one story in the book is told by my godbrother Tejas Prabhu. You don't hear a lot about Tejas Prabhu, but he was one of the pioneers in the Hare Krishna movement in India. He was stationed as the temple president in Delhi while everybody else used to go to Vrindavan. Tejas was steadily stationed in Delhi, and he received a lot of instructions from Srila Prabhupada. And he was very intelligent also, Tejas, so he knew he had a lot of association with Srila Prabhupada, so he knew, for example, that Prabhupada might say, "What do you think of this?" And if you said, "Oh, it was great," Srila Prabhupada might say, "No, it was terrible." And if you said it was terrible, he might say it was great. So he knew about these things. So one time there was a big kirtan, big enthusiastic, loud kirtan at some pandal program. And afterwards, Prabhupada asked Tejas Prabhu, "How did you like the kirtan?" And so Tejas, being very intelligent, didn't take either side. He said, "It was all right." That way you wouldn't be off by more than half. said no, it was not all right. He said it was clanging and banging. He said kirtan should, well, that's fine. Rather than my second-hand version. Prabhupada said, no, it was not nice. It was clanging and banging. Kirtan should be sweet and melodious. Come, let us go to the ashram and have kirtan. And so we went, Srila Prabhupada and his servant, and Bharat and myself. Except his servant, the three of us sat in the room, and Bharat played harmonium on the request of Srila Prabhupada. And we had a long kirtan. On Srila Prabhupada's signal, the kirtan ended. He looked at me, smiling, a little shaking his head, and said, so sweet and melodious. And then he moved on with the rest of the preaching and hearing. I heard him say, and heard that he also said, sometimes stopping kirtan, no screaming and shouting. So kirtan is not clanging and banging, screaming and shouting. Kirtan is sweet and melodious. Well, that's actually the original nature of kirtan. When Srila Prabhupada led the kirtan, one could see and hear that he was deeply absorbed in the transcendental sound of Krishna's holy name. That was the center of the kirtan. It's also mentioned in the book by God's sister Jumana Devi. Mentions that Srila Prabhupada was very expert in harmonium and mridanga. She said, but in the kirtan, the main instrument was always his voice. Everything else was subordinate. It was only to support the holy name of Krishna. So it's a matter for realization that it's not music. Kirtan is not actually music, although it's musical, but it's not a musical performance. And the quality of the kirtan, or the effect of the kirtan on the heart, doesn't rest on the expertise, on musical expertise. It comes from sincere dedication and purity of heart. One time, Srila Prabhupada was giving instructions for a public kirtan party. I think perhaps in England, it's also in the book. Prabhupada said there should be this many kartal players, this many dancers, this many mridanga players, one person leading the kirtan, and then this many members in the party. And the most important thing is that all the members of the kirtan party should be pure devotees. That's the most essential thing. The kirtan is a transcendental sound expressing pure consciousness, which ultimately means dedication to the lotus feet of Krishna. yes, it's not that we only do kirtan, but there's a whole science of bhakti yoga described in Nectar of Devotion and all of Srila Prabhupada's books. It involves chanting. It involves following regulative principles to purify our consciousness. It involves a whole routine of transcendental culture. Sadhana means practice of devotional life. Material world, they have their materialistic sadhana. Get up late, as late as you can, take a quick shower, have a cup of coffee, rush off to work, and so on. And spend our spare time reading the newspaper or some other kind of useless topics. But the devotional practice means how to engage all of our senses in the service of the Master of the senses of Krishna. And by doing that, our whole life becomes purified. By following regulative principles, no intoxicants, no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling. And by constantly chanting Hare Krishna, we become free from so many unwanted things within the heart. And finally, we become free from birth and death. Bhagavada-Gita, the forest fire of birth and death is extinguished by the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. So it's a simple thing. One doesn't have to have a beautiful voice or be anything, musical ability. But after all, Krishna hears the chanting of the Gandharvas, the musicians who reside on the heavenly planets, and compared to them, what can we do? So Krishna doesn't need our professionalism, but he's interested in devotion. Patram pushpam pavantorya yomi bhaktya priyachriti tanaham bhakti paritam ashrami prayatam. One doesn't have to be rich, one doesn't have to be very capable, one doesn't have to be aristocratic or of high birth. But one just has to offer Krishna whatever one can with love and devotion, bhaktya. Krishna says, even if someone offers me a leaf or a flower or water, patram, pushpam, palm, fruit, with love and devotion, I'll take it. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that Krishna says that he'll even eat a flower offered. I mean, who eats flowers? But Krishna, even if you offer him a flower with love and devotion, he'll eat the flower because it's offered with love. One time Prabhupada was talking, he said, cauliflower. But in any case, the main ingredient is love and devotion. When Duryodhana and Krishna went to Hastinapur as a Shanti and Duryodhana invited him, please take your meal at my palace. simple and the story is famous that his wife was so excited that Krishna had come to her house that she began peeling some bananas for Krishna and offering Krishna the peels. And because she was offering with love and devotion, Krishna was eating them. So, this is Krishna. He doesn't need anything else. Prabhupada said, Krishna doesn't need your rice dollars or chapatis. He's Sarvaloka Maheshwari. He's the owner of everything. But when we offer to Krishna whatever we have, we love, and Krishna accepts it. When Sudama Viprava visited the palace of Lord Krishna, Sudama was very poor. He was Krishna's old friend from the Gurukul. And when we go visit someone, we should bring something as a present. He was so poor that he had nothing to bring. So but we have to give something. So his wife collected a little flat rice from the neighbors, just a little bit of chipped rice. Prabhupada said you should take to me and like poha. Not a very fancy thing. And when he met with Krishna, they were recalling their days at the ashram of their spiritual master, reminiscing over so many topics. And Krishna said, I think you must have brought something for me. But Sudama was embarrassed. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or Krishna is the Prince in Dwarka. How can I offer him this paltry chip rice? But, so he was hesitating, just keeping it a little hidden. But Krishna snatched it and began, and took a mouthful. So you brought me this wonderful chip rice, how nice. And then he took another bite. Oh, this is so good. And then he was going to take a third bite, but Rukmini Devi stopped him. And on the plea that there are different reasons given. Some of the acharyas say that she was concerned that it might affect their suggestion. But the main reason we hear Rukmini Devi herself says that just by your taking these two morsels of chip rice, you've got such you're so indebted to it. And if you take any more, you know I'll have to go to serve in. She's the goddess of fortune. And he'll be so indebted that I'll have to go there and serve him. And Prabhupada explains that actually anyone who's engaged in the service of Krishna, Krishna consciousness, goddess of fortune does come and live in his house. But the point is that Krishna was pleased just by that simple offering of chipped rice, because it was brought by his pure devotee with love and devotion. So the holy name of Krishna should be offered to Krishna with love and devotion. That's the main thing. And that vibration, of course there's two ways of chanting. One is kirtan, when we all chant together. And the other is japa, one's personal chanting. It's meant to be chanted loud enough so that one himself can hear it. It's not a group exercise for broadcasting the holy name or joining with others. It's one's personal meditation. Japa, Kirtan, they're both meant for purifying the heart and reawakening our eternal Krishna consciousness, or the eternal mood of serving Krishna. Even the newcomers from the very beginning can experience transcendental happiness by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because Krishna himself is the reservoir of all pleasure, the reservoir of transcendental happiness. So even from the very beginning, one can experience happiness by chanting Hare Krishna and purification of heart. And as one advances on the path of Krishna consciousness, one's natural relationship with Krishna will gradually, what's the word, reawaken, and one will advance more and more on the path of love for Krishna. So I'll stop here and see if there's some comments or questions that you might have.
I'm just going to give a comment.
Maharaj, I have a comment, and I think it was we were talking about that when we were in the room at the airport, Prabhupada, I think it happened there. Sachinandana, he was with the Madonna right in front of Prabhupada, and he was playing, whatever Haribol or something, and Prabhupada knew it, and he played nicely.
I'd forgotten that. This was a wonderful incident here in home when I were both there at Kennedy Airport in New York. Prabhupada had an evening flight going somewhere, and the devotees had reserved, now what? Hare Krishna. Okay, now it's louder, and I guess that's better. Prabhupada, devotees had reserved the VIP, AVIP room at the terminal, perhaps it was TWA. Although I'm not sure about that. Okay, now it's bad, I
That's
think.
because that mic is on.
Why is it? I tried to do this at the beginning, get it set to the right volume. Is it okay? But it sounds to me like maybe it's all right. I guess it's not feeding back, is it? It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Then don't touch it. So the devotees, so there was a VIP room, and as many of us as could fit crowded in with Srila Prabhupada in the VIP room. And the other devotees were gathered outside, as so many devotees. And someone gave Srila Prabhupada a framed picture of Sri Sri Radha Govinda, the presiding deity at the temple in Brooklyn. And Prabhupada accepted the picture and put it on a little table, something like this. And someone else brought a very nice silver tray full of fruit for Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada took the tray of fruit and put it in front of the picture of the deity. And then someone brought some incense and offered the incense to Bhagavada-Gita. And now what to do with the lit incense. So Prabhupada took a piece of watermelon off the tray and put it to the side and put the incense in a piece of watermelon. And then Prabhupada said, now have kirtan. So Krishna's there, the offering to Krishna is there, fruits, agarbati, and devotees chanting the holy name. Well, in that way, Prabhupada converted the VIP room into a Hare Krishna temple. And one can do this anywhere. One can do this in a public place, one can do this in one's home. Every place becomes a spiritual world by Krishna consciousness and chanting of holy name. Thank you for everybody else in that nice incident.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, I had one question regarding the instrument being played during the kirtan. So, is there any standard like which instrument to be played and which not to be, or we can play an instrument for the glorification of Krishna?
Prabhupada said kirtan means kol kartal. Kartals and mridangas. And he said if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he wasn't something else, he would have done it. So, kirtan means kartals and mridanga. Even harmonium, Prabhupada said, was for bhajan, not for kirtan. That was a well-known instruction back in the days when Prabhupada was present. So, kol kartal. Now, Prabhupada allowed all sorts of instruments. At 26 Second Avenue, it's famous, Sasri Maharaj is writing that there was all sorts of instruments, flutes and drums, and somebody salvaged the guts of the piano, and that was there, and whatever, just so that people would get engaged. And Prabhupada on different occasions gave permission that people could play even electric guitars and so on. So Prabhupada was not, what's the word, dictatorial, drastic about it, being allowed. But many times he gave the instruction that kirtan means kol karta. And he explained why, actually. If we introduce, well, let's work this. If we introduce so much emphasis on style of kirtan, then simply imitation will go on. Devotional emotion is the main thing. If we give stress to instrument and style, then attention will be diverted to the style. That will be spiritual loss. There's another place. The other musical instrument, if he plays, this is a conversation in 1976 in Bombay. The other musical instrument, if he plays, his attention will be diverted in musical instruments, not to chanting. We have to see melody, whether it is going on nicely. But that is not good. Our concentration should be hearing Hare Krishna. That is bhakti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simply discarded all gold, that's all. In those days, of course, there was no harmonium, but many stringed instruments were there, sitar, esraj, but these things were not used. Sometimes we do use to attract, but it is not required. Again, what my godbrothers remembered, they taught, propagated Sunday feast program, remarked that melodic instruments, including the harmonium, are not meant for kirtan, and he explained why. He said that the ear will automatically follow the musical strains, and then our attention will be diverted from the mantra. So the main thing, as Judah said, was Prabhupada's voice. The main thing in kirtan was the sound of the holy name. And even the drum should not overpower that sound. My godbrother, Abhiram Prabhu, repeated in a recent interview that when Prabhupada came to London the last time, he was hearing from the kirtan from up in his room, and he sent Abhiram, he told Abhiram, the mridanga should not be louder than the voice. The drum should not be louder than the voice. And he sent him down to tone down the drum. There are some drums that are so loud by their nature that they'll always drown out the voice. The main thing is the voice, not the instruments. There are many large discussion about that in the book with different quotations from Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Something else? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, so much for the wonderful class today. You quoted the verse Patra Pushpam Phalam Toyam, where you mentioned that if you offer with love and devotion, Krishna will accept. And you quoted the pastime from Mahabharata about Krishna taking banana peels. But what if it's the other way? I mean, if we're trying to make an offering, but because we're not yet pure, we have not yet developed that love for Krishna, yet there is an effort to make an offering. So what would be the result in that?
Well, that's practice. Therefore, our devotional service is called devotional service in practice. In the beginning, Krishna says, Mameva anahadhatsva mai buddhim niveshya nivashishyasi mayeva atavurdvam nasamshaya. Just fix your mind on me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and be always engaged in my service. And by being always Krishna conscious, surely you'll come to me. But then Krishna says, well, if you can't do that, then abhyasa yogena tato. If you don't have spontaneous love for me, then follow the principles of sadhana bhakti. Practice. Practice is also appreciated. When our children may be doing something not so expertly, but if they're practicing nicely, then we're happy. Yes, they're just see, and they may be chanting the verses all broken up, but because they're practicing, we become very pleased. Oh, chanting restricted to a very small group of people and pretenders. There would be only two classes of devotees, the most elevated and those who are pretending to be the most elevated. And everybody else would be left out. But no, Krishna consciousness means that first there's some interest, and then we associate with the devotees, and then we begin the process of bhajan, devotional service under the guidance of a capable devotee. Well, this is the method. Not that one has to begin from the highest platform. We begin from the lower platform. And actually, even the advanced devotee thinks that he belongs to the lower platform. Those who make a show of belonging to the higher stages are rejected by the expert devotees. Interesting show. There was a kirtan performance in Mayapur, maybe it was 1977, could have been. Lokanath Maharaj remarked that it was the first and only transcendental kirtan competition in Mayapur. It was arranged by the local managers to attract local people in Bengal, many kirtan groups travel around and play, and people gather here. And in those days, Mayapur was still a very small time. Our temple was not the most visited, even so in a place, but not as many people were coming. Mostly the foreigners from Mayapur, before so many foreigners would be there. But the idea was to bring in the local people. So they had a kirtan competition. And they invited so many local groups. And devotee groups also from America and elsewhere. And they set up a stage. And they had judges. You got so many points for the kartals, so many kartal playing, so many points for mridanga playing, so many points for dancing, so many points for dress. And there was a cash prize also for the winning party. And so there were some expert Bengali groups that were playing, and they were really good. I mean, they could, our American parties, some of the parties that sort of pride themselves as on being expert, were watching, would see what they could learn. And they were expert kartals and bright blue sash and yellow cloth and green and quite impressive. And they would chant, Krishna. They're going on like that. And the word came down from the Lotus building where Prabhupada was staying that we should turn off the amplifiers. Prabhupada said they're simply chanting for money. Or Jayataka Maharaj said, Prabhupada said, they're not chanting Hare Krishna, they're chanting money, money. So, the chanting should be done with sincerity and devotion. That's the main thing. Even if it's not so expert, and even if we're not advanced devotees, if we just try to please Krishna and the spiritual master by our chanting of Hare Krishna, then there'll be everything will follow. Is that okay? Something else? because it's 5 o'clock and it's time to stop. Okay. Oh, and copies of the book would be available. We brought some. We don't want my poor brahmachari assistant to have to carry books all the way back to New York. So, please take them off his hands. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. All praise to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.